So I'm out here at the Marriott, and it's the Residence End next to the Hills, the Spring Hill Suites. My brother Carl used to have friends that worked at the Park Ridge, a friend. He was a black guy who I approached to do financial planning for. Carl referred me to him. I talked to him at the Park Ridge Spring Hill Suites, but he didn't move forward. This is a long time ago. But also, he knew another guy he referred me to that was working at another hotel here in Chicago as well. And I forget, and that didn't move forward. But listen to the music. Setting the mood for the guest. Now, the entrance. And this is what Steve Wynn did with the Bellagio. He moved out all the casino stuff out of the entrance and made it a relaxed reception area. And right when you walk into the Bellagio, we're talking entering it, then there's the atrium right there off of the lobby you walk into, and it's beautiful with flowers, and you have all this fresh aroma. And he wanted the guests not to feel pressure. He wanted them to walk in and smell the flowers, and it have this great scent. And they changed the flowers, and when we were there, it was the New Year's. It was the Lunar New Year's for China. And we took some pictures, what me and Jen did. And I've shared those, but I'll share some pictures on Tumblr. But the whole point is, his concept worked. The Bellagio was an incredible hit. Now, it was more conservative because he didn't get the water rights he wanted because it's Vegas. But they opened the Bellagio in Mississippi, Tunica, too, and I don't know how that is, but I wasn't to go there with my friend Lance until he pulled out. But here, the doors in that, on this entrance, are more plain Jane. Music's great. The little archway over the top, kind of protecting the people underneath from the rain and so on a little bit. And it's nice, but the doors are a little sterile. The name Marriott. The writing's fine, but the letters itself can be a little bit more dynamic nameplate. Like next to it, it has a more lit right here, kind of more dynamic nameplate. And so, but you have to understand this, when you enter a hotel, and I don't know how they're doing the new Ballys, you're really setting the tone for the guests. And that's great. You have high energy right in the lobby, lots of slot machines or whatever right there. But also, it doesn't allow people to decompress and feel relaxed, and they're going to stay at the hotel. And so we stayed off in Vegas. We stayed at Marriott, outside of Vegas. It doesn't have any, it's next to a casino. And this is the thing, the Marriott can't be a casino, but they can team up with Bally's, truly. And Bally's has the casino, separate entity. Casino's theirs, the hotel's Marriott's. Bill Marriott put it in, he cannot have anything to do with gambling, but they can be in partnership with another organization that does it. They can't join, they can't merge in that way, but they can be in a partnership or strategic alliance. And so, and remember, Marriott bought Starwood, which is the largest international hotel chain. And again, they can't do any gambling in Starwood. Starwood had no gambling either. Marriott's the biggest domestic, and even got bigger when it purchased Starwood because it bought a lot of luxury properties. That Starwood owned a lot of luxury properties. But they're the largest international hotel chain in the world, Starwood. And when Marriott bought them, they became the largest domestic. They got bigger domestic. They got the Sheraton. They got the W. They got the Westin. Those are all Starwood brands that are now part of the Marriott. And when they bought them, they became the largest international hotel chain in the world. But Bally's could pair up with them and have right next door to the hotel, separate entity, but attached, and you would walk into a different property. But the properties are paired up with each other, and so the hotel in that would be its separate entity. It would be a standalone structure, and you would walk in, the lobby and everything else. There would be no gambling in the hotel, and then you would go next door for the gambling. And the Marriott can do all the events. So the Marriott can have boxing events and everything else. And they could do the joint venture with the Bally's that's being built here, where as long as the gaming is a separate from the hotel, it can't be attached to the, meaning it can't be in the hotel. It has to be separate from the hotel. You have to go into the estate, but it has to be separate entity. And they're in a strategic alliance, and Marriott would build out and control the hotel for Bally's, and Bally's would get the gaming in the Marriotts, not only here, but around the world. But separate entity. And then they would have to have some type of strategic alliance where Bally's would bring them over. I don't know even if they're allowed to hold gaming stock, per se. So they would move the money over in a form that's compliant with his estate. So it might not go directly. It might go to funnel something else. Like I was going to do Perillo's, and I couldn't rebate him for, property casualty insurance. I was going to open up one in the Perillo BMW dealership, property casualty. And I was going to do homes. As people got into the cars, I was going to be in Perillo BMW, and I would review their auto policies. And if they had a home or one at renter's insurance, I would go after that as well. And so I say, well, I'm reviewing your auto insurance. How about if I review your homeowner's insurance? Or if you don't have homeowners, how about I take a look at bundling this with some renters? And then how I would give him the money is through marketing. So I would give him money back through marketing, not through the insurance. It would come out of my profitability going back to him as funneling into BMW marketing or whatever. And you got to look at his marketing budget, but look at the Marriott's marketing budget. And it could go back into the Marriott, and then they get to keep all the money they would have spent on marketing as their profit, and Bally's pays for marketing Marriott domestically and internationally. They take over their marketing budget, or maybe marketing and, I don't know, some other things. So they give them back goods in return, not cash, per se, in that way. But you have to figure out how, but they can be strategic partners with Bally's. And Bally's has always done me good, and Marriott has always done me right. So they can have a strategic alliance with them, and it, I think, would be profitable for both, and not violating Bill Marriott's agreement, his estate plan. So, and I'm waiting to see what the hotel's going to be like, but if the Marriott took it over, then you have incredible deep pockets. And you have incredible expertise. So, the Ritz-Carlton, and they have so many luxury, the Phoenician, they have so many luxury properties, it's incredible now. The Marriott has the most luxury properties of any hotel chain, I think. Now, when they took over Starwood, they took over a massive collection of domestic and international 5-star, 7-star properties. So they have a lot of incredible luxury properties. So anyways, they should think about partnering up with Bally's. And it would be a win for Bally's. They get the gaming and Marriott gets the the hotels. But anyways, how they formalize the deal and work out the dynamics. But I think it'd be a great strategic alliance. Going back to the street, these sewer caps, the reason they sink, the PSIs on the sewer cap, when you drive over them, spread out to the rims, the exterior. And so underneath the pipe, it has to have more compact soil that can handle more pounds per square inch, so it doesn't force, because it's putting the pressure on the external, because there's nothing under it. Unlike the street, you have pavement under it, but there's a gap where this is. And so, and the pipe runs horizontal to the street, so it creates a foundation. But here, where the sewer entrance is, the PSI under that area, the soil under that has to be compacted more firmly. And that way the sewer caps won't sink. And they'll stay flush with the street. And so they have to calculate out the proper PSI. And that's the load factor of what type of cars go down the street. And so if you have these big 18-wheelers coming down, then you have to compact it more, because an 18-wheeler sitting on the sewer cap or going over the sewer cap, that's a ton of weight. Depending, what's the maximum load for an 18-wheeler? Truly. So you have to calculate that. And is a trash truck even more load? The pounds per square inch on the tire of a trash truck could be even more load. And then if it's carrying scrap metal, like those scrap metal trucks, they can even have more pounds per square inch. So you got to figure out what is the heaviest vehicle traveling now, so you understand the pounds per square inch that you need to put in the foundation. Now, that's what they need to do with earthquake for the building. They have to figure out the vibrational force and what pounds per square inch that movement creates on the structure of the building. The load factors, the pounds per square inch in the movements, and the foundation. You don't want the building to separate from the foundation. So you have to calculate in the pounds per square inch, the pressure per square inch. Truly. You don't want to move per square foot. You want to do it per square inch. You can even do it per half an inch. And if you get more precise like that and calculate it more precisely, the building and structure will even be more sound, because you create it for a smaller pressure point. And so it's like pixels on a TV. Take it that way. When you have less pixels, the TV picture isn't that dynamic. But if you create smaller pixels in the same space, more pixels, same space, the picture is that much more richer and clearer. Well, it's like pounds per square inch. When you do the calculation and you're doing the dynamics to a smaller calculation, and this is what architects and engineers don't understand in that way when they're doing buildings and that you actually have to start moving it down, your calculations of pounds per square inch, to half an inch, quarter inch, 1/8 of an inch, 1/32 of an inch, 1/64 of an inch. And as you get more precise with your pounds per square inch on the material, you'll have a better idea of the overall structure of the building and whether it will fail or not. And so if you're buying a structure, you want to test it the opposite way of how they built it, and figuring out how many PSIs that it was designed to handle, and then break that down into smaller segments, and then test those small segments to see how they handle. Because if they did an inch, break it down into a fourth and test each quadrant, and then you'll see maybe the inch holds, but each quadrant, when you break it down, fails. So you can get an overall, and then when you're buying the building, you can retrofit it and make it stronger because you understand the weakness at a miniaturization or smaller level. You are wiser than them. You understand it in more detail than they do. You're more precise than they are. They're more general, and that's their weakness. You're more precise, and that's your strength. And so when they're building these buildings and that, they have to understand that. And as they get this idea and understand these dynamics, these structures will become incredibly strong, withstanding 8, 9, 10, 12, truly, unbelievably more, because it's not going to break apart at the seams, because the smallest seams can handle the maximum amount of pressure. And so you don't get the building cracking or sliding or moving. They're not doing that in Japan. They're not doing that anywhere. So you understand this, you start getting more better streets and better highways and all of it, and it creates a superior structure. It's like the city when they're rebuilding it and redoing things. Are they improving the city? Meaning, truly, are they making it more incredible? So this should be a global leader in infrastructure. Truly, Chicago should be, Illinois should be a global leader in infrastructure. And there's a new video that's on YouTube that I'll share on my Tumblr, because it's already on YouTube. That's all I like it. I have. But it talks about the state of Illinois can be the most influential state, not California, not Texas, not any, but Illinois being the powerhouse of the United States and a powerhouse in the world. And it's all ripe for that, and that's what I've been saying. And so you don't understand, you're in the most blessed place in the world being here. People that live here don't understand that. They truly never understood that this state is literally unbelievably blessed in every aspect. And so people have always sold this state short. But this state is the opposite. It's incredibly blessed. It's just that people here don't know how blessed it is. And I'm glad the video came out showing how blessed the state truly is. Now I need my little blessing, my LBG, or my LBW, I should say, my little blessing woman, or my little blessing girl, and that's girlfriend. So that's LBGF, little blessing girlfriend. Because I had my little blessing called Jennifer Kim, my LBJK, my little blessing Jennifer Kim. Now I'm looking for my little blessing girlfriend, my LBGF. So I need my blessing. So anyways, I used to say sugar and spice and everything nice, that's a girl. But seems like all the girls I run into seem to be the opposite of anything from a lady. Jen wanted to be the greatest lady she could be. Truly. And I wanted to be the greatest gentleman I could be. And the funny thing is, isn't the premise of James Bond? Truly. Or Steed from the Avengers? To be these incredible gentlemen? Truly. Incredible gentlemen. To be the greatest gentleman possible. Isn't that the essence of GQ? Gentleman's Quarterly, right? To be the greatest gentleman possible. So Jen used to read Esquire and Glamour, and she read all the girly magazines doing her competitive intelligence. Do you think men read all the manly magazines getting their competitive intelligence down on how to be the greatest gentleman? How to be, the greatest lady? Because Jen did. She spent a lot of time reading those magazines. How to take care of my face, how to take care of the clothing, how to do this, how to do that. And she read all those magazines. Those are trade magazines for women. How to be the best lady possible. And then there's Men's Health, besides GQ and others, on how to be the best man possible, how to be the greatest gentleman possible. Those are trade magazines on your development, giving you competitive intelligence. And if you consume them correctly, you have better competitive intelligence on how to be a man, a gentleman, a scholar, all the above, better than the person next to you. And that's how Jen took it, and I took it. I used to read GQ and others. And it's competitive intelligence. And she was thorough. Every edition, she read through it from, truly, she never skipped an article. She read it cover to cover. How to be the greatest lady. And if she kept that up, because that's with me. I don't know what she did with Tom Lee. It seemed like she fell off. But when she was with me, she was just perfecting. And I think she fell off this. And so this is competitive intelligence for you to be gifted. So the information is all there. You just have to do the work. The sweat equity is being able to take in information and apply it effectively. So again, be the greatest you. And don't tell me you don't know how, because it's out there and you can consume it and make yourself incredible.